Welcome back. This talk is about well, if you see my presentation yesterday about the decomposing database and putting something in place, this is the product that for this, we did all of this, so it's actually running. And we just decided we'd do a short presentation of the product and something which you might know. There's a new buzzwords like no-code, low-code tools. Not sure if the terms are the best because I struggle all the time because it was the same with no SQL. If you're just saying what you're not or what you are not, nobody knows what you are. So it's always better to define something that you do and not define yourself being something not. So to be honest, no code, low code, I don't really know what it means, but I think everyone has an opinion and that makes it a little bit difficult. But yeah, it's usually used for, well, I did already. Let's talk about Excel. Because most low-code or no-code tools have something like an appearance like Excel. Like, I think everything that has a grid or a spreadsheet, everyone says, oh, that looks like Excel. Yeah, right? And the usual talk I start with, I mean, Excel, you can all these addressing cells, having formulas and stuff. So my girlfriend is a controller. So when I look at her, what she does with Excel, saying, that is almost what I do all day long because it's super complicated. She does super fancy stuff. But then there is the 99.99% of people like me from the users. So and that's like I can hit a cell and enter a value, and that's it basically. So I can make this famous sum. So you can track down the whole column and it's saying, oh, this should be a sum. Woo, that's great. So but there my expertise ends basically. So, and I think 99.99% are in my group. So, and that's the reason because people use Excel as a database because it can compute everything, but it's most of the easiest UIs you can have to have a database. You just make columns, you just make the stuff, and then you enter row by row. It's so easy, and it's really hard to achieve with other tools. And that's basically the reason why most of the tools look like this, because it's a common and an accepted way of entering data. Yeah, and there's slide fatigue, so I didn't do any more. Just go into live demo. So what we try to do in a collaborative database is something like you will see. It should look like Excel. So that's the tool. So it's Excel, but it's in a database flavor. So every one of you use the words database, table in SQL database, and row. In our world, it's just a database is called a space. Yeah. Oh, oops. Whatever you call it. And the table, we call a grid. And then if you grade that, you just enter, you add it with a not really welcoming single cell, which just tells you, here I can enter anything. So my name. And from here, we can just extend the fields, so you have a different types. So that's one of the difference between Excel. It's not a calculation stuff, but that every column has really a type, and the type is that what enriches the use case. You will see in a minute. And the difference is also if you have a date or something like a type, you can always have a different input component, something which is more approachable. And so that's the way you would usually edit data into a database. For instance, I did this with finding a hotel. Can you see all of it? Is it visible? So just entering the data, and then you can have here, if you have a geolocation type, you can just enter the address, and then it puts the geolocation type in the column. And if I want to have an overview, it's just saying, okay, now the database should look like a map. And so I can just see where are the hotels, because you always know the venue of the ESUG and the bars, so you should be somewhere in between. So it's a tiny use case just to start with the database is something like you start to model. Yeah. So that's just, I'm not sure. It's not enough time. I won't go into detail. I think the most important stuff, and that's what we really try to help out, is because these Excel where people edit data, the collaboration mode of all these is email. They have an Excel, they save it, they make up an email saying, dear colleague, here's my Excel, and then this one adds another row or something and sends it to another person. And then at one point you get 2 emails from 2 of your colleagues, and you have 2 different versions of the Excel. So everyone suffers this. And just to demonstrate that, usually everyone starts with these. They have an Excel, and then they just organize their stuff by hacking. So I did something really simple. So to show what we can do with the database. So I prepared that already. So you would just go saying import CSV, and then you have the CSV just from the Excel. It's saying, so CSV header is usually, I mean, all of you know CSV, but there's this, the first line, there's a convention. It might be the title of the column in the first line. So you decide there is one. And then a few seconds later, you just import the Excel. So that's the first step. And that's getting the people that know Excel to something. It looks almost the same. So that's the thing. So the entry barrier is really small. What do we do from now on? So we have this grid. And then we try to model a little bit more to have something like not just a flat sheet, but something like a data model. So I can say, I'm not interested in these strange numbers, so I just remove the whole column. And then I'm saying, and this is also something DoubleDB showed, I'm not sure how many years before, is that a lot of denormalized data you have, if you have person names or something, it's denormalized because you can't just have text in Excel. And then you just go and say extract field. And then you take the assignee. And what it does is it creates a new grid with the distinct values of those row, and it links it back to the other spreadsheet. So if you click here, so you can get just the whole alternatives you have. So there you start. So if you see that there's a space, a grid is a table, but it's more or less like a class because you just define the shape, and every single row is, well, we don't call it an object because it's not polymorph. You cannot do polymorph, so we call it an entity. But then you start exactly doing the stuff. Entity, referencing entity is the basic stuff you do in database for modeling data. All right, so that's quite okay. So we get it from Excel, we deduct it to the string to do, and now we have a model already with people. So, but yeah, okay, that's not a lot. So the collaborative effect is that, for instance, I can create a form saying, okay, if someone wants to add a new column because I don't want to send that email, I'm just saying I want to enable any of you to add one row to my sheet without giving you access to everything. So that's in the form creator. It just says, okay, you have 2 columns, so that this would be the basic form. Is saying add your wish. And then you can give a string and the person you want it to do. So, and from that point on, I can either, if someone of you has a mobile phone ready, I can either copy the link, or you can just go and take a photo of the QR code. So, did anyone does it? Would be nice. You don't have to. Would be make the presentation a little bit more. So, yeah. Okay. So and then you see on the tab. So one has entered data, so we can reload the view. And there, say hi, Martin Linas. Okay. Oh, yet again. So great. great demo tweet, Stefan Dukas. Yeah, that's a good way. So that's our thing for opening collaboration, that you're saying that the link, so you can create a form which is more appeasing to people than having this Excel line, because they used to have fill-out forms. So in the form, if you look at it, I can, for everyone else, I can just copy the link, open a tab. So if you open the link, you just get the form, and then you can say anything, and then if you click here, you get a drop-down already for the person. So that's it. So that's a minimal entry for someone that needs that should collaborate without. So and the link is something which it's public, so it's you don't need to have an account, you don't need to authenticate, nothing. You can just collaborate because you have only the right to add one entry to the Excel, and you don't have access to anything else. So that opens collaboration about this basic data thing. And yeah, so that's a good way to share the things. And I'm saying, okay, but it's kind of a workflow, saying we just make something like we are all used to, like a Kanban board, and then we're saying state, single select, and then we're saying this is a to-do, in progress, in review, done. So I'm just creating another data type, which is basically an enum, which most of you will recognize. And then I have the same. I can select the state. But if we have an enum, and I'm always about talking types, it's not, you cannot just take a fight over types, but types can do something for you. And at that point, if you have that, you can just create a Kanban board. And then it asks which of the columns, so it detected there's only one enum. Yeah. So you use this, and then you get the Kanban board of this enum that you have. And then you say show unstacked cards, and then you just start assigning those things. So you, from the data you started to create, you change, by changing the view, you make it accessible to responsible people. So the one thing was collaborators just edit form, and now you have something that tracks flow, and that can just move the tickets. So you can give this to all your colleagues, and then you can just move the tickets as you used to in Jira, whatever other tools you use. And if you go back, it's just that in the spreadsheet view, then you just have the label. So the whole tool in collaborative is about changing the view to enable you to edit the data or manipulate the data in a decent way. So you saw that on the map. And so for every type you have date and time is a date picker, map is a Google map, and this enum can elaborate Kanban board. So these are the points: having data, managing, modeling, enabling stuff, enable collaboration on the input side. So the only thing is missing, well, there could be an output side. And this is also present because in my inbox I have here, new post entry, anything, blah, blah, more FPS, tweet, say hi. And why is this in my inbox? Is because we have automations. So we use, for this particular space, I use a service called Zapier. So that's one of the bigger thing. They have plugins for Twitter, sending mail, sending Spotify, everything. So it's basically hundreds of APIs. And you can have just enable them by making a flow there and having a webhook. So in that you can, and we are integrated into Zapier. You can choose ApptiveGrid, saying from this space, from this grid, whenever a new entity is added, what you see here, new entry added in the to-dos grid, then there should be the action sending that to the outside world. And on Zapier, as you can see it here, there's the participating flow that's just saying a new entry in ApptiveGrid sending an outbound mail via the Zapier service. So this is, while everyone, especially programming language research, rip on low code and no code, this is, for me, it's quite the best test for a network is the computer right now. So because in this way, it's far from being perfect. So, and yeah, we know all the problem that complexity will make it really hard to do this. But with these services, you can really put responsibilities and execution in different companies, servers, whatever you can do. And this is a one way to enable a product which we, in our history, doing mobile applications, so a lot of projects even fail because if you would use a normal IT team, it would take 2 months, 20,000 euros, and the result is not what you want. So to make a little summary of that tool is that actually the best thing it does is that, so in IT we have always the problem, there's one that is a problem domain expert, the one that knows about insurances, about construction sites, about everything. There's people learning years over year to make their expertise. And then you get to a programmer, you have something that takes requirements and then gives it to the programmer, and then there's something, always that the software is not like what the person in charge, the person with the money wants. And this kind of modeling right there, we do it with the customer, just closes that gap, that at least the one that has the problem and the modeling goes really close to each other. So these tools cannot replace rest of IT, but the most thing, especially in Germany, because we're always last if it's about digitization, is that these simple workflows you see, simple Kanban board, simple, whenever someone is a form, you get an email or a PDF or whatever, that's something which enables IT solutions. And that's something we often miss, that there is, it's not about type system and stuff, but putting it into use is something we forget on the way, and that's why I actually really like those no-code, low-code. So it's a collaborative database because I'm all about collaboration. I think that's a small intro. I'm not sure it's helping to expand that. If you have questions now or later, I'm happy to talk. Not sure how much time there's a bit of time. So, any questions?
Can you say a word about the implementation? What stack did you use? What library did you use?
Exactly what I presented yesterday. So the backend is now, as I removed Mongo. So what I presented yesterday is already. It's not what I want to do. It's what you can see. The backend is completely. So the front end is Vue.js. So it's just because server-side. So the main difference between DabbleDB and this is that back in the days of DabbleDB, server-side rendering was the way to go. And so you could have all the benefits of C-side, yeah? So you can do really complex stuff and stuff. We know if you make the gap between the back end and the front end, and this is JSON I told about yesterday. So this is a whole lot of problems, but nowadays you just need a more nifty UI, you see, with the animations and Google Maps and stuff. So it's Vue.js on the front end. It's good for you to know is because the blends are the API interaction now is coded in JavaScript, but that's we are talking about because in the near future I want to have the API client written in Pharo and transpiled via Pharo.js, so I can get rid of most of the obstacles because complexity and stuff. There's also I need it, so Pharo.js will be a part of this because we have also. I did a little scripting language called ApptiveGrid, and you know, if it gets a parser compiler, this is heavy to do, and you don't want to do it for all the platforms. Especially because we have, I can show you, because there's also a mobile app for this ApptiveGrid. So for the form, so the basic, what I forgot to say is that there's a lot of people out there, their daily business is taking with the car, they go to anywhere, a cleaning service, a facility management or something, and they're somewhere. And then there's this paper where they write, oh, today Dave was here, Dave. Yeah? So, and this is just like, all of these are simply to be digitized. So we have customers, they're saying, yeah, you can make the paper one, but then somewhere there's a new flat, it should be renovated. And then you have all the information there, but the day after you put it there, it's it's not valid anymore. So what you really want to have is a QR code there, and the worker coming in, or the clinic personnel, just go here, and the Aptiv launchers, just you make that form, what I show you, and then you integrate it here. You can, oops. So it even works with the QR code. So you look at the QR code, then you go in the camera, and then you just photo that form, and then you have it with you. So then you have it even offline, because then the form, the spec of the UI is downloaded from the app, it's kept in the app, and then you can just add your entry even if you're offline, because the app just says, okay, cannot reach the server, so I'm just saving that for the moment, and when you get online again, you can just make that back. So, but yeah, Pharo Chess will be something, not sure for the client, I told you, because I'm still struggle, because synchronous, asynchronous is, I mean, JavaScript asynchronous pulls you down to do everything asynchronous. So there is. So, but you still want to have, I want to have a Pharo client, which is usable in Pharo and in JavaScript. And so the problem is synchronous, asynchronous, and exchanging thing we talked about already, that you have setting client on the Pharo, which is not transpilable to JavaScript. And then you have all the things like, okay, if you use it in Pharo, use that setting client, and if it's transpiled to JavaScript, replace it by window.fetch something. So that's the obstacles. And for the compiler and for the scripts thing, I'm almost sure we can do this because it's pure small talk, and there's nothing special in a parser or a compiler that you cannot compile. And the good thing, so the next thing is, because the mobile app is done in Flutter, and so the interface between Flutter and JavaScript is rich. So it could be even a Pharo code transpiled to JavaScript used in Flutter app. And then we have, so it's always the thing, you don't want to implement everything for every platform. So, and that's the way we try to target all the interaction from the outside. So, and if you're ready to transpile to Java, I'm happy to use it. Yeah.
I was looking at the website now. What comes with this start free of charge?
Pardon?
There is start free of charge.
Yeah.
What comes with that? What's the difference?
Everything.
Everything.
Yeah, we're bootstrapping. So we did a good job the last 12 years to earn money and stuff and keep everything safe. So the ramp up is, so there's no external money. So we make that. And of course, it won't stay forever free, but you know, the first problem you have is getting users, and you don't care about money. And if you have these plans, yeah, you have also to put all the limits in the software. You can only have 3 spaces and blah. So it's a lot of to do, and so we want to make the product good first. And then later, yeah, there will be free of charge. You can do quite a lot. And really, if you know the typical thing, if you know more, if you need more, you can give us a few bucks a month. So we'll see. Undefined yet. Any more?
I'm surprised that you had to use Flutter, and on one side you spend energy on doing the UI with Vue.js. Couldn't you use the same stack for the mobile, and you on top of Cordova?
Yeah.
You didn't need to go with another language and another set of libraries.
Yeah, it depends. So if you have a company and employees, it's not always the technical useful decision. It's also about keeping people happy and what they want to do. So Flutter is also, it was an experiment to just, there were a few guys saying, oh, I want to do Flutter, and saying, okay. So if it keeps you happy. The rest is always, if you go cross-platform, it's always a native interaction. So you need Cordova, and Cordova is a hog on its own, yeah? So it's not that Cordova solves all the problems. So Cordova drives you into write Java plugins to enable stuff that's not already there. So the native interface. And Dart, so they wanted to learn Dart, actually. So you have Dart, and you have the integration. And, well, apart from anything we tried making it Apple, Android cross-platform, Flutter is really the best you can have. Even at the stage, Flutter is, well, it's beta, yeah, for us. So we use it since alpha, and it changed a lot, but yeah. it's always something like this. It's like not a technical decision. There's people involved, so. But at least the hardcore parts like the parser, API and stuff, I want to share. So because that's, yeah. Okay, thank you very much.